people ask me why I ask those questions, and I started this for me really to learn, about this stuff because I've been away from it so long, and I've not ever been really technical. So I like hearing from you guys, about the technical aspects of it, and what if somebody sees this that doesn't know anything about racing? I had a guy comment today. I think it was on a Bill Fry for some reason, and we're going, by the way, so I'll just let it go. But
go with it.
For some reason, Facebook put out another Bill Fry reel. I didn't even ask it to, right? Facebook just made this Bill Fry reel, or something happened with a Bill Fry reel, and I had a guy comment on there, something about, don't know what a jig is or something like that. Well, how many people in this world do you think don't know what a jig is?
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys know what a jig is. And
we do, but there's a lot of people out there that don't have a clue what the heck that is.
Right. And they for sure don't, really realize what it does, how it pertains to, like, putting the chassis together or frame together.
I saw that deal, and Bill Fry's a very good friend of mine. I'm lucky to have him in my life as a friend.
Super good guy.
Yes, he is. And I actually met him years ago. I'm going to pick on his age because he's older than Methuselah. But when we were in Lubbock, Texas, I'm from Texas originally, in a small town called San Angelo. And so we used to travel to Abilene, Texas, and we raced in San Angelo, and then Lubbock had a racetrack over there. And when I was a kid, I actually saw Bill over there. And I thought, man, that was just a cool, his cars look so good. And I thought, man, that is really, really neat. And super late model racing wasn't as big down there as it is up here. And so watching that was like, man, I want to get to know that guy. I'm a short, fat, pudgy little kid. I just bebop up there and start talking to him. And he probably doesn't remember this because, he's getting old. I was talking to him, and I told him this is what I wanted to do for a living. And he's looked at me as serious heart attack. He turned and looked, and he said, son, and you know how straightforward he is. He said, son, if you want long hours, low pay, and no benefits, this is a job for you. And for the rest of my life, that is stuck in my head. I can't ever forget that. So watching his deal the other day about like his jig work and different stuff, honestly, and I'm not trying to toot Bill's horn, and I know Chris Ellis said the same thing. He's probably one of the best racers of all time, because it didn't matter what it is. He could build it out in the scrap yard or grab it, and there you go, and win races with it. And I really I'm not picking on anybody nowadays, but I miss that aspect of the racing. And part of that is development, of course, in the times and everything else. But Fry he was above his time. He was one of those people that was really, really good. So,
yeah, 100%, man, for real.
Yeah.
I'm going to read. So you're from San Angelo?
Yeah.
I got a funny story about this. Hey, when me and a buddy, we graduated high school. I think this is back in the early 90s. We graduated high school, and he was from San Angelo. And he was telling me about the oil fields out there. He's like, let's go. Come on, we'll head out there and go work in the oil fields. I said, all right, because I didn't know for sure if I was going to go to school or not after high school or college or whatever. So we headed out of North Arkansas, hold on down to San Angelo. To some of his family's house down there, right? No air conditioning in this little apartment they had on the side. And we had 100%. A fan. We went to the unemployment office, right, and put in to work in an oil field or whatever we're going to do. And we got back that night, and I think it was midnight, 1 o'clock, just absolutely covered in sweat. And we looked at each other and we said, that's it, man. Let's go home. We stayed there like 24 hours, and we headed straight back to North Arkansas. And that was the end of the San Angelo oil field dreams.
I have a family full of oil field welders and truck drivers, like my whole family. Of course, if you're from West Texas, you're in the oil field of some sort. I was in there for a little while longer than I cared to be as a kid. And you're right. It was just grueling, antagonizing, poured in sweat. Man. And you're thinking, I'm doing all this for what? When I moved from San Angelo to Batesville, I remember I called home and was talking to my mom and my real dad. And I'm like, you'll never believe this. They've got trees. They got water. It rains up here. I said, this is the neatest place I've ever been.
It's great.
Yeah, it's green. We have green grass. Like, you don't see that at home. It's desolate terrain at home.
Yeah, they say it's a different heat out there. Oh, it's a different heat out there. It's not as bad, man. Listen, I know humidity and heat's bad, but man, that was that was one of the hottest places I've been. It was rough.
It's so dry. Yeah, you're right about that.
So how did you get into racing, Travis?
Well, my papa, my dad's dad, actually, raced cars back in the 32 Ford Coupe days. And so, like, it's been pretty much a family thing throughout the years. I've actually got a notebook. It's kind of cool. I should have got it, but it was my papa's old 32 Ford Coupe, and he called it the Flying Purple People Eater. And so that's part of the reason I have purple in my race cars is because it was my grandfather's deal. And then my dad raced for a really long time. He designed sprint cars and built sprint cars. Yeah, my uncle Alan actually was Doug Wolfgang's teammate when they were in the World Outlaws for years. So I've been around sprint cars my entire life. I'm the only late model driver of the family. Everybody else is sprint car drivers. But that's kind of how I got into it. Is I just want to biting ankles at the racetrack, being a little pain in the butt. I imagined everybody that was around there. We used to, the sprint car guys. I thought that was so great, and then I get the little tear offs and put them on my head and run around the dirt. And I thought I want to be a race car driver someday. That's pretty much how we got involved. Is our whole family was in it. Of course, there's lots of families and stuff that are in there, but that's how I actually ended up with the number 997. Is my papa was 997. My number was 10 for a very long time, but my papa was 997 and my dad was 997. And so when my father passed away in 2014, I kind of took the number over. But it's kind of a funny story on how my papa got that number 997. You and I are a little older, so we'll remember this. There used to be a Humble Oil Company. Now it's Exxon, but it used to be Humble Oil Company. And Humble Oil, the viscosity on there was 997. That's what was wrote on the bottle. So they were literally, of course, how it was back then. They drank beer and working on a race car, and they didn't have a race car number. And they were that next day they were supposed to race, and Papa just picked up that oil and was dumping it, and he's like, "Hey, 997." And that's how. I wish there was a better story than that, but that's the God's honest truth. And I actually contacted Humble Oil about it, or Exxon about it, a while back, and they thought that was the neatest thing ever. And I was like, man, it's pretty cool. Who does that? Most people have a reason for that number, and that was
Right.
that was just how I ended up with that. So
I think that's an awesome reason, to be honest with you. I mean, it's things like that, man. That it's things like that come up that that's the coolest when things like that happen. That's a good story. For real.
Well, it hits me in the heart because my papa, my family on the Ashley side of the family, if one person bleeds, everybody bleeds. And so like racing was such a major part. It's still a major part. Like my Uncle Tommy and my Uncle Alan, my Uncle Gary and everybody on that side of the family, they still drive all the way up here and support me. And that's just amazing to me. Even when my father passed away, they still come up here and watch me race. So I certainly appreciate all that for sure.
What was home track for you down there in San Angelo? Did you have a home track around there?
Yep. We had San Angelo Speedway. It was right there in the middle of town, and it's been called San Angelo Speedway, Rolling Thunder Raceway. It's had multiple different names, but that's kind of why I like. And I mean, I'm from Batesville. Of course, I love Batesville, but Crowley's Ridge and Riverside are the type of racetracks that I grew up on. Tiny, little bitty bull ring, just elbow up top stuff. And I'll tell you how small it is. My stock car was geared 777. I mean, it was absolutely little bitty, elbows
Wow.
up. Yeah. I mean, it was small. And then Abilene Speedway, I would say, is our other home track, which is only about 80 miles from there. So we were always, we were on one track. And then Odessa wasn't too far, but San Angelo Speedway and Abilene Speedway were the two main tracks that we were always at.
So how old were you when you got into a car, and what class were you running?
Well, it's kind of a really cool story. So my friend Jason Wilkie and I, we grew up together in West Texas. He's actually up here, moved up here before me, and we grew up in West Texas. Our parents knew each other. My mom ran the racetrack, and his dad was the tech guy at the racetrack. So we spent all our childhood together, and we ended up making a friend and a sponsor. Jason ended up getting a modified, and he made a sponsor with a guy named Roger Corfield. And Roger wanted to get into racing, so he bought a old beat up Camaro. Like down there, we had a hot stock class, which was you had to run basically a turbo 400 transmission and a 350 motor, and it was a leaf spring car. So Roger one day just came up to me and was like, "Hey, you work your butt off on these cars all the time. Do you want to drive this thing?" And I worked at a body shop at the time. And for school, like in Texas, you can have 10th grade if you have a certain amount of grade or whatever, you can go to work. And I was like, yeah. So
Yep, I did the
he
same thing.
he gave me this car, and it was less than, I mean, it needed some help, but I like that. It's kind of cool. And so I took it to the body shop, and the guy that owned the body shop was another friend of the family's, and he happened to know a guy that had an old car, and we put it all together. And Roger did everything he could and sponsor me in every form or fashion. And truly, I owe all my early part of my racing career to him. He gave me my first shot and gave me the first chance, and then Dennis Sartain actually built all my motors and will sponsor me the motor stuff. So Dennis had the motors and Roger had the car, and they just said, "Here, you go race." And honestly, I probably didn't deserve it, but I certainly can't tell them thank you, and I try to tell them thank you all the time. And to this day, I still talk to Roger Corfield in Texas, and like, man, I really owe you big. Like, I wouldn't be, and I'm a nobody in the grand scheme of things, but I wouldn't be where I am today had he not given me the opportunity to race. And man, it meant the world to me. Our first year, we won 4 races in a row as soon as we got in the car. We ended up winning
Nice.
the points champ at home. You did a mid-season championship and a full season championship, and we won the mid-season championship second and the full season championship our first year. So I was very blessed and lucky, and that's kind of how it all got started down there. And then I moved up here, and it really kind of went crazy from there. But
And
my
well,
dad and my
so
uncles,
when did you get up here to Batesville?
well, I don't I don't tell a whole there my close personal friends know this, and I've never really been real loud about it because I'm just not that type of person. But so I had a real bad stroke when I was 20. Most people don't know that. And I had
Seriously?
a
At
yeah,
20 years old?
I did. Yeah. I
Oh,
had a
wait.
stroke when I was 20 and then another one when I was 21. And I had real bad AFib and didn't know what was causing all that, but that's what it was had a lot of heart problems, and so it was causing AFib, and the AFib were making me have strokes. I actually this is very sad but true. I was in ICU for 6 days the second time that I'd ever won a race in my life, and I was in there, and I told my dad, I was like, "Hey, where's my race car?" He said, "What do you mean, where's your race car?" I said, "Where's my race car?" And I'll never forget it. He said, "Well, it's hooked to your trailer, but you're in the hospital." I said, "Yeah, I know." And, so my mom and my stepdad left, and my real dad said, "I don't even wanna know." So apparently breaking out of the hospital is illegal. I didn't know that, but I broke out of the hospital, went and hooked onto my or got my pickup and left and went and won that race, and my mom was so mad, like, she was
Wow,
so
that's
pissed off
crazy,
at me.
man.
Yeah, so
That
anyhow,
is dedication right there.
it was,
Wow.
and looking back, I think, "Man, that's really dumb." The cops were showing up, everybody was showing up, but it was I won the race, so it was like, "Heck yeah." So anyhow, fast forward into that, a little less than a year after that, probably, I guess it was somewhere around in there. I was at a race in Abilene, Texas, and a good friend of mine named Josh McGahey was racing, and he was in a wreck. Just car tore up, it was mangled, and we took off running like you're not supposed to do. But we took off running, and we went to pulling all the sheet metal in the car apart, and I got hit by a piece of the tube and actually broke off the race car and hit me. And that was on a Saturday night, and on Monday morning, I passed out and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Well, you know how you always hear if you have a bruise and the bruise doesn't go away, certain people have cancer. Well, come to find out, I had stage 3 and 4 lymphoma cancer and didn't even know it. I had no idea that I had cancer. And if I hadn't got hit by that piece of tubing, I had about a month to live and didn't even have an idea of any of it.
Man, that's freaking crazy, dude.
And in the meantime of all that going on, my friend Jason Wilkie had already moved up here to. We knew Larry Shaw already because we bought Shaw cars, so he moved up here. But I lived in basically a cancer hospital for 6 months. I was there, 6 days a week, 7 hours a day, getting chemo because they didn't really give me the best chance. It was like, hey, this is what we got to do, and I would rather you talk to me like that, like, hey, tell me the truth. They didn't give me a real good chance of making it through this deal. And, of course, I was like, you can't kill me. Let's do this. Let's have fun doing it. So with the help of the good Lord and really, really great doctors and good people that supported me the whole way, I made it through the cancer. And so, at the end of that deal, my cancer
And you
doctor, he
would
came.
not have known about that had that tube not hit you.
No, I had no clue. I had absolutely, and I was working out really, really heavy. I still work out a lot,
Well, I'm
but
about
I
to
was.
say, I mean, you look like an Ultimate Warrior sitting over there. You must work out.
Well, I appreciate that. I try. I'm getting old, and these younger kids may come up to me when I'm not paying attention. So
Hey, I was doing it before I started this podcast. I mean, I tell my wife, I mean, I look like the Ultimate Warrior before I started this podcast, and I don't have enough time to do anything. I got my weights sitting right over here. They're right
yeah,
over here where you can't see them. I had them, and I mean, I was pretty good size before I started doing this. But yeah,
I get it. I
you
get
get
it.
old,
So
you got to stay in shape when you get up
you
older.
do. You honestly do. And yeah, so I didn't know when I got hit. I felt like, of course it hurt. Of course it hurt. And I actually, and I don't get too embarrassed about this. I hope that it helps somebody, but it was, you don't ever have just one form of cancer. So I got, I got hit in the testicles. So that it actually, that's how I got it all started is you've always got two forms of cancer, like either prostate cancer or you probably have something else. Well, come to find out, had I not done that, like I already had it in my armpits, neck, I had it all over the place, and it was predominantly in
Golly,
my
man.
back. And had I not had that happen, I had about a month and didn't even know it. I just, I thought it was just another day. And it was kind of a very much a blessing in disguise. And I tell people all the time, and I really mean this, and it's not just some BS words that I say, is I'm like, every day is a good day. There's just some better than others, like, period, the end. Cause you don't know. You have no clue. I didn't know. And
Yeah.
if it'll help one of my friends go to the doctor, try to stay on top of them all the time. But that's
100%
how
on that one.
that's how I ended up here is, they said, if there's anything in life that I wanted to do, go do it. And I was like, well, I want to be a race car driver. I want to go race. And I was a gigantic Jeff Gordon fan. I know people are going to make fun of me because I'm a Jeff Gordon
Yeah,
fan.
probably.
Probably so, but he was a sprint car racer. So
Yeah.
I was like a diehard Jeff Gordon fan at the time because he was a sprint car racer. Plus, he had Brooke. Like, anybody that can run around with Miss Winston Cup, you're like, I got to be a friend of this guy. So my grand scheme was I was going to leave San Angelo, come up here and visit and go drive and sleep on Jeff Gordon's doorstep. Like that was my grand scheme in my head. And I'm like, well, that sounds really awful out loud, but that's what I had planned on doing. And so I got here and drove straight up to the shop because, like I said, I knew Jason, one of my closest friends growing up. And I got here and Larry Shaw, I walked in the door and he said, Ashley, what are you doing? I said, well, I just came to visit. And he said, well, come here. I got something you got to do. And that's how Larry is. You've interviewed him.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
how he is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so I walked in there and there was cars everywhere. He said, get over there and get to working on that car over there. And I said, well, what am I going to do to it? He said, just do something. I was like, okay. I get over there and I just start, I asked Jason and Kevin, which I've known Kevin for, I was like, what do y'all need me to do? And they're like, well, start bolting this stuff together. I'm like, okay. So at the end of the day, I got there probably like 10 o'clock in the morning. And by the end of the day, he said, well, what are you doing? What are you doing tonight? And I said, I guess I'm staying the night. Well, just stay for a week and then I'll help you. And he introduced me to Mark in the meantime. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is the coolest thing ever. We got Mark Martin over here. And
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I'm here with the NASCAR. This is what I want to go do. So I'm sitting there talking and a week passed by and he said, hey, I need you for a month. I'll pay you for a month. Just stay a month. While I'm sitting there, Chocolate Myers walks in the office and I'm like, that's Chocolate Myers. That's Chocolate Myers. And he sits down with Larry and starts BSing. And I'm like, wow. So there's Mark Martin and Chocolate Myers. This is the coolest thing that's ever happened. Like I'm in the right place at the right time. And this is no lie. I can't even make it up. The phone rings and it's Jeff Gordon calling Shaw. And our secretary at the time was like, who is Jeff Gordon? And we're all freaking.
Oh, what?
What do you mean? She had no clue. Sweetest woman in the world, but had no clue who Jeff Gordon was. So like, oh, golly. So I'm like, this is great. Well, I worked for Larry 20 years and I've worked for Scott and Marlene now for 5 years and I'm still right there. I haven't left
Wow.
and never made it that direction, but it's really cool
That is
because
awesome.
everybody I've met, I mean, the NASCAR scene, we've had Tony Stewart down there. Of course, Kenny's always there, or Wallace was always there, Shredder's always there. So I didn't go that direction, but I'm truly happy with where I ended up and what I'm doing. So,
Yeah,
uh,
man, that's freaking awesome. And for people that don't know, I mean, there may be a lot of people out there who don't know how big a racing country Batesville is in Southside. That is, I mean, that is a freaking hub of racing.
it is like that was one of the biggest draws for me. You're driving through town, and at the time, our McDonald's was nothing but race cars. Like Warden Burton's Daytona 500 car, or sitting right there, and you're like, "This is amazing." And everywhere you went, people were the greatest racers in the country. All the kids that I looked up, or the guys, you got Wendell sitting there with Billy, and Billy was one of my top racers because his cars were red and yellow. My dad's sprint cars were red and yellow.
Yep.
And so it was like, this is a great. I mean, what else could you possibly want? Even even though I've been at the same job now since it feels like the beginning of time, and people always ask me, they're like, "Do you still like your job?" I said, "Absolutely." Like, there's days it's a job because everything's a job, but man, what else is a race car driver? What else do you want to do? Like,
Right.
for a kid growing
100%.
up in San Angelo, Texas, in the middle of the dirt, it's like, yeah, this is a blessing. I get to drive a race car and build race cars for a living. What else is there to do in life for a guy like
Yeah,
us?
man. I mean, 100%. That's freaking awesome. And I've only got to see you race one time at Crowley's Ridge. The only
And
time I got to see you race.
I'm pretty sure I destroyed it that night too. But
Well,
it,
I remember the only thing I remember from the race, and I tell people I can't remember half of what I did yesterday, and that's the honest truth. But I remember that race. I remember your car because you've got an unforgettable car. I mean, when you see it, I mean, that's Travis Ashley's car. And I remember Chandler Petty coming from the back to like third or something like that.
oh yeah, he
And
rolls over there too.
in the sprint cars and late models at the same time, which is something I absolutely love
Yep,
to see.
me too.
But
I do
so
too.
Shaw, what do you fabricate? You're a fabricator?
Predominantly, I'm the sheet metal guy. I don't want to say that that's the only thing I do there, but I've done sheet metal work probably more than I've done anything else. There for about 3 or 4 years, there was another fabricator there named John Young, and unbelievable talented man. And he would fit the cars, and I would weld the cars, and I did that for about 3 years, and it was just really to do something different. I've been doing sheet metal for so long that it was kind of nice to bounce and do something different. But honestly, I try to do it all. I don't want to say that I'm a fabricator, but I like to fabricate, and I don't even consider myself to be a sheet metal guy. And it was funny, Kevin and I were talking about that the other day. And I used to have a tally of every car because that's what Larry wanted. He wanted to know exactly how many cars that we had done,
And he does. He does know
and he
how. I mean,
does.
exactly.
And I the best I could tell, I'm right at like 6,100 race cars that I've done the sheet metal on, and or six.
Golly.
And some of them, of course, has been multiple times, but it was like 6,100
Sure.
bodies and interiors. And I think that's why I've got arthritis in my hands is from tin snips. But
Yeah, I bet.
um, that's that's predominantly what I do. But I try to do a little bit of the chassis setup stuff, and Kevin and I go through that a lot. And even Travis Mosley's over there now. He's really picking up on all that stuff and trying to learn all that. But technical questions, I do a little bit of shock work. I build all the carburetors when they come in, which I enjoy that part because it's something different. But mainly sheet metal and fabrication work as far as like I don't say all, but like chassis repairs and things like that. We're we're a little bit smaller company than what we used to be because that's just the nature of the beast anymore. And so we all kind of float in different areas. Like today, I welded on a wreck and built a body and interior, and it kind of breaks the monotony of doing the same thing over and over and over again, which I really like.
Yeah. It sounds super freaking interesting. I know that. I'd like to come down there and just watch. I'd like to come down there and just watch for like, a few days and see how it goes, man. I'd like to see that process. I think there are a lot of people out there who would. So
Come
that
on down
sounds
anytime
really
you want to.
interesting. That sounds
Like,
really interesting. It does. But now, so Shaw's building modifieds now, right? So
yes.
when did the last late model come out of there?
Well, that black and pink car that I have actually is a Shaw late model that we built 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay.
But before that, I've heard all kinds of numbers, but truly, realistically, the ones off of our jig was 2010 was the last actual car that we built. Now, there's another guy that used to work for us named Farrell Fike, and he was the main fabricator for Shaw's forever. And he's great. He's unbelievable. And he does multiple chassis for multiple different companies also. But he built one in 2013 on his jig. But outside of that, that 2010 and that one car in 2013 is the last time. That's kind of
Okay.
how our during COVID, the man, there was people dragging those Shaw cars out of the woodworks. Like, I don't even know where they found all these cars, but parts are hard to get and money was tight. And so I got like 10 or 15 phone calls in a row of just people saying, "Hey man, I brought this Shaw car out of the weeds. Do you have any numbers? Do we have any updates?" And I truly didn't. I was like, "Well, no, but I tell you, if you give me a little bit of time, I can come up with some measurements." And these guys were driving. I had them from Ohio. I had them from Wisconsin. We had them coming from
Wow.
all over the world or all over the country. And I felt a little bit bad for not giving them the right information I felt like they needed. So I was talking to Scott Marlene and Roger Mealer, who I race for, who owns all my race car stuff and everything else. But we got to talking about it. It's like, let's just build a new Shaw car. And John was um, talking to me and was like, you know what we need to do? I don't want to copy anybody's cars. I don't want my stuff to look like anybody else's. I want it to be a Shaw car, but I want an updated Shaw car so a guy can bring an old car and we can have the same numbers and it all worked out. So that's how that came about is we just started on there and we narrowed the car up by a lot. I mean, it's probably 3 inches narrower on the right side, and we raised the frame rail up like everybody else is doing. So it would be a little bit more modernized race car, but I could still take numbers and go, here's what you need to do on your car. And so that would be the last one. And it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago that we built that car. And it's been really good. I just can't catch a break with it. Like, it seems like every time I turn
I
around, I've got
gotcha.
a motor problem or something
Yeah, because
just
it ain't
trivial.
just the chassis, and now I mean you got all kind of other stuff to worry about besides that. But
Yeah, yeah.
is there a chance that maybe someday this will turn into something, or is this just
I hope so, but
me too?
it got to the point to where we were so busy with modified stuff again. Like, as soon as COVID kind of started slowing and, as soon as people just decided, hey, we're going to start racing again, we got so busy with the modified stuff that it takes a whole lot longer for me to build a late model than it does a modified. And so it kind of got pushed a little bit towards the back burner, but we still get tons and tons and tons of late models that come in to do chassis work, and we get setup stuff. And, I don't know how many bodies and interiors and stuff we do in a year, but I'm hoping so. I really want it to, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes along the way. There's too many good chassis manufacturers out there, and
Sure.
I don't like. I'm not one of those people who want to copy somebody else's stuff just because this guy over here's got it. I don't really want to do that. I would like to take something and evolve with it, and um, I don't.
I mean, how far ahead of the game are Longhorn and Rocket? I mean, that's kind of what
Oh,
happened to some of these
yes,
guys, right? I mean, they just
yes,
got so far ahead in the game that I guess more research and development and all that kind of stuff just
yeah.
kind of got away from everybody else.
It did, and so in my opinion, and this is just kind of my opinion or whatever, but so our modified program for a very long time, we were selling 200, 250 cars a year. It was just an astronomical number for a very long time. And it kind of plateaued at 150 cars a year. But the problem with that is everybody has your car. And so you start flooding the market and then you're looking for the next thing to come along. Well, it's kind of like that was in the late model era as well. The Shaw late models and the GRTs were so much more higher than everybody else for a very long time. And of course, Mark Richards and the Rocket deal, well, it kind of flooded their whole area. And so as it evolved, I guess as we could say, as time went on, and I'm not picking on NASCAR, but NASCAR started going the other way. Like, people weren't watching NASCAR as much. People weren't spending as much money in NASCAR anymore. And so they started spending their money in racing. Well, sprint cars are still, you know, everybody says they're, you talk to, you got sprint cars, late models, modifieds, and that's kind of how in their mind that goes. Whether you like it or not, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And so the late model stuff, when Clint Boyer and Bobby Labonte and those guys started getting bigger and bigger into late models, it's good and bad for our sport. And when I mean that it's bad, I don't mean that it's bad. I mean that those guys spent the money to do whatever
Yeah.
it took to make them fast. And so, Rumley came in and those guys came in and, he built and designed the XR1 car and he did all that stuff, which is what you're supposed to do. That you're supposed to get faster. You're supposed to get better.
Innovation. Right. Yeah.
Innovation, 100%. They did nothing wrong. Racer's the one at fault. We're all at fault. We want to go faster, so we do whatever it takes
Sure.
to spend whatever it
I've heard
takes to
that
do it.
100 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, we'll show the people that turn the lights on. We won't pay our bills. They'll turn them off. That's just what we do. It's not very smart, but I
Yeah.
had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I drink protein powder, but we're gonna have a race car part. That's
Yeah.
how it's gonna go. And so it evolved into the XR1 just whooping everybody. If you didn't have an XR1 for a while, that was it. Well, same type of deal. This guy and this guy and this guy have an XR1. Well, let's buy something different to outrun them guys. So here come the Longhorn stuff, and they started developing. And, even the capital cars and those guys started developing. Of course, all the other guys are still going to be good. They just don't have the same type of people behind them, like Barry Wright and them guys are.
Yeah. That and volume, right? I mean,
right. Volume is the whole key to all that. And
Yeah.
I truly believe you take a large amount of people and you put them in all the same cars. I mean, you're going to get the same results. They're all going to win, or somebody's going to do something. So you got to change it up. And man, I'm friends with Rusty Schlink, and I think what he does is awesome. He builds all his own stuff and he does what he needs to do.
I just talked to him and saw him this weekend up at Arrowhead.
Did you? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the world of Rusty and them guys, and even whether you like, love, or hate him, the Carpenter bunch is the same way. They're trying to do something that they need to be doing, and I think they're hitting the right market with what they're looking for. Rusty, he kind of stays in those regional series that he runs. Well, man, he's great. He runs really good at all that stuff. So he's building for that market, and that's what he needs to do. And I'm not saying he can't go out there and win in a Lucas race or win in any of them, because he can. And same thing with Tyler and even Mullet. Them guys can win in that stuff. They just got to keep going the direction to get developed like everybody else is. And I hope, and I may be wrong. I don't know that I'm wrong about it, but I hope that Longhorn, because I'm really good friends with Steve Arpin. I've known Arpin since he used to race with us for years and years.
Oh yeah, I know he was down there at Batesville.
Oh yeah, all the time. And I hope that they don't end up flooding it to the point that, people get tired of those and they're not worth any money then. Like that car means nothing because nobody wants it. And I hope that doesn't happen to anybody. I don't like seeing anybody start struggling when they've been way up here for so long. So
Right. I mean, Longhorn and Rocket, I mean,
they're the two to have.
Sean GRT were that was them back in the day.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
there was
100% right.
There's some Rayburns back there and things like that, but Shaw and GRT, those were the, that was it. Those were the cars back then, and so it just seems like, it cycles around, I guess maybe. So yeah, somebody else probably come up with something. Somebody's gonna win a bunch in it, and it's gonna take off. I mean, I don't know. You hear a lot. Let's talk about pricing.
Okay,
we've talked about this several times before. Let's talk about a regionally competitive, maybe at least a locally competitive late model, crate, whatever class. Talk to me about how possible it is to get into a late model, compared to, let's say, B-mods. And I'm just going to bring it out. I'm just going to say B-mods. B-mod guys, how many B-mod guys can get into a competitive late model for what they're spending right now?
I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but
me and you both.
I've lived in trouble my whole life. It's okay. But so realistically, and I honestly was talking earlier today about it to this with the customer of mine that called me, and I said, man, I'm not picking on you by any means. I totally get it. I'm not rich. We work very hard for everything we have, and if it wasn't for the sponsors that we have, we couldn't do it. And Roger Miller, he does everything for me. but I'm like, well, now you can run a quick change. A late model has the same quick change. You have a hub, we have a hub. You have a brake rotor, we have a brake rotor. And realistically, our stuff is a little bit cheaper. Like your lower A-arm costs more than our swedge tube does. So a swedge tube or, our lower A-arm, the way we're built, it is way cheaper because we can build it. A steering box now, if you want a good steering box and you want the best to keep up with the best, a steering box is $1,000. But you can buy a decent rack or a real good rack that you can rebuild for $800 or $900. So, and as far if you fast forward to the motor side of things, Riverside runs a steel block over there quite a bit. Crowley's Ridge, man, I've seen people went over there with a smoking 350 that could barely run. And then I've seen really high-end motors over there, and I've watched these guys with very low horsepower beat the guy with, a very expensive race car. In the end, those B-Mod guys are racing for $125, and I'm not picking on them. But it costs more than that to get in the gate. Well, most of your steel block stuff just around here, and I'm not even counting comp, because you can run comp or you can run the Heartland series, which I think is a wonderful deal that Trenton Berry's putting on. You can run those series or those places, and it pays $500 to $750 a night to win. Riverside's going to pay $1,000 multiple times this year and $3,000 to win. Batesville's having 2 or 3, steel block races that are going to pay $1,000 to $2,000 to win. I truly believe that you can do it. Like at that point, it becomes you have 2 more sheets of sheet metal because it takes about 8 to do a body now on a modified interior. You do 10 to 11 on a late model. So, we'll just call it two more sheets and a plastic nose piece. Most of the time in a late model, your nose piece takes the blunt of everything. You can fix that. Well, in a open wheel modified, you're going to tear it all to pieces anyway. And I'm a huge modified guy. I don't mean that in any form or fashion. Everybody I know.
I'm the same way. I'm not against any of that stuff. I'm just a late model guy. I just am. Too, I think a lot of fans are. Late models bring the fans in. In my opinion. So, and you're looking for. I think. Listen, I think sitting over here where I'm at right now, I think there's Fry's, Moyers, Phillips. I think there's these guys sitting over here in B mods that. And that's too, I guess, a lot of promotion thing. But I think there are those guys over here. I think we've got them. I think we've got these guys around here now that could get into late models and do that. I've said it 100 times. I don't like the body style on a modified. I just don't. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate the modifieds, but I don't like the body style. I don't.
it's
a hatchback body style. I don't like it. I like a late model. Late model that's America back.
Yeah.
That and Monte Carlo Street, stock cars.
Oh yeah. And I'm kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place in there because I build them for a living. Everything. But and I tell people that all the time. Hey, you want to go mod racing? Let's go. I'm absolutely for it. Let's go do it. 100%. I just think there comes a time whenever it costs us, especially in the USMTS world. And I like Cade. I'm buddies with Cade. Cade's got a really good car going on right now.
Yeah,
but if you're going to spend $50,000 or $60,000 on a modified, you can spend that same money and have a chance to make a whole lot more. Now I know the tire cost, and that's what everybody throws in there, the tire cost. I get it.
100%.
I understand the tire cost, and I'm very fortunate that I have an amazing tire sponsor that he probably doesn't want me to use his initials on here, but you've got one of the doors hanging up in there and he does me really, really well. And so if it wasn't for him, we couldn't do it either. But it's $262 for a late model tire right now. Well, most of your big teams run them once, and you can go buy them for $100. So that's good because they're heat cycled, they're siped, they're grooved, they're ready to go. Your modified tires now are $189 a tire. There's not a real big differential anymore.
No.
You're going to burn probably the same amount of tire up. The cost differential isn't there anymore like it used to be. Now, when modifieds first came about and they first came along, I remember the very first modified I ever built from scratch. I built the whole thing, built the entire race car, all of it, got the motor, did everything, and I had $10,000 in the whole car. It was worth doing it back then. I mean, everything was a whole lot cheaper, and the late model stuff was way up there at the time. But now the modified stuff came over here, and the late model stuff's kind of they've almost met. I mean, you're looking at. I know some of them guys in the UMP and the USMTS deal that got $30,000-$40,000 on a motor for a modified, and
Well, I
it's
talked to yeah for the motor. I talked to Duval over here at Arrowhead, and he said, what was it like 70, 80 grand, something like that, on an
all
Avon.
day. Yeah. Yeah,
So
and he's got great stuff, and he's a good dude, and he works his butt off to get what he's got. So, and I'm not. Joe is a great. He sent me a wheel last year or 2 years ago. Sent me a wheel, so I appreciate him very much. But it's the same type of deal. If you've got that much money in it, those guys run for 2 or 3,000, and the late model stuff just right around here in Arkansas. If you use Arrowhead, they race for 10,000 multiple times,
both
and
nice this weekend, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's $10,000, and if you make the show, it pays $500 to pull on the racetrack and wave to the fans. So you still spent the same amount to get in the pit gate. You still spent the same amount in fuel, but you made $500 just to make the show. And I think it's just a better deal in the long run. That's just my opinion, but
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, it's definitely got to do with the overmotors, right? I mean,
that's
nobody
crazy.
wants
Like,
to. No, yeah, nobody wants to drop that much. Local guys or whatever, regional guys hate
no,
to drop that much money. So I think a lot of it is we need something. I don't know, one, two things maybe, and some of them are kind of popping up around. And I know there's been one in Arkansas, but more, a steel block. Somehow to get those things to pay a little bit more. I
yes.
guess just all the way down through there to where it helps these guys, race these late models. It gives a little bit more security. I think security is a big, issue
It's a
kind of with
comfort
that.
thing when you pull into the gate, and we do this a lot, and I'm very fortunate. My girlfriend she's got this stuff down to a T. I'm like, I don't know what we spent, but she knows exactly on a piece of paper what we spent. And so she knows when we pull in the gate, this is what we spent and how much it costs and what we have, how many, all that stuff. And in your mind, if you know that you're going to get most of that back, you're pretty comfortable with it. It's okay. But if you pull into the gate and no matter what you're going to do, you're losing all your money, you start losing interest in racing. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen with people if they don't figure out a way to make most of it back. Um, and I get that. And, Roger, like I said, Roger Mealer, the guy that I race for now, has been more like a father to me than as much as a car owner. We're super tight, but I don't ever spend his money like I don't want to. I pretend like it's my money, and I don't want to do that towards him. So if it doesn't make logical sense, we try not to do it. And I think that the regional series are kind of going in the right direction as far as the pay starting to break all the way back down through there. And I honestly, if it's a 10,000 win race, I wish I paid 5,000 to win, and all the rest of the money was to the field.
I've heard
I'm
that
not
a
real.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Dolly Parton stuff whatsoever.
Yeah.
I feel like it needs to be all the way through the field.
No, I got you. I hear that a lot, man. I do. I mean, well, why 20 grand? Make it, 10 grand and pay that down through the field. Well, I guess they want to try to get a big name in there. They want to try to make the fans think that they're getting a better show. I mean, they're not going to get a better show, because it's 20 instead of 10 and they paid down through the field. They might get a better show. I don't know.
They could get a better show. I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, you have one guy that's going to win that race, and that's it. And everybody else, they can't keep coming back if they don't have a reason to come back. I kind of have this argument about timing in a lot, and I get in trouble for this all the time. But and I'm really good friends with some of the Lucas guys, and so they give me a hard time about it. I'm a terrible time runner. Let's just get that straight. I can't time in worth a piss. And some of that is because in my mind, I'm thinking, if I tear this up, I don't have a backup car with me. I have one, but I don't have one with me. And we don't, my crew is wonderful. I'm not taking anything away from them, but we don't have $1,500 guys paid that do nothing but, you know, so
Work on the car.
if I stick this thing into the fence right here, we've got 5 minutes to get it fixed before they're coming back over there. And so the time in deal, to me, I don't like it as much. I understand it a little bit, but I also think if we're supposed to be the best race car drivers, then let's race. Like, if you're supposed to be that good, then why can't you start in the back and drive through the field?
Yep,
Um,
I agree with
Case
you.
in point,
I
and
agree
I
with you
love
on
this
that.
guy. I mean, Max Blair is my buddy, and that dude, you put him in the back of the field, and I love it because it's like a bull coming through. He is so fast, you know. And there's
Hey,
those guys can,
all the guys around here, the legends. I mean, that's how they got good. I mean,
yes,
they said they Southwest Missouri they had to race from the back to the front.
100%.
I mean, that's just
And
how it was.
I I think you could save a little bit more tire, in my opinion. Of course, I know I'm going to get scolded for this, but it is what it is. But I just think that you passing points racing or heads up racing may give the guy who's never going to get the chance to win with a huge wide board because he can't afford a $70,000 motor to time in with. Yeah, maybe that guy's going to win. And then they always have that, oh, well, we got to pass that guy. Well, it's your job to pass that guy. That's what we're supposed to do. We're
It's
supposed
racing.
to pass that guy that's in front of us.
Yeah, it's racing.
And I get so irritated when people say, well, you got that clown right there. Well, how do you know that? Like, what makes that guy any worse than us? They deserve to be on the racetrack just like we deserve to be on the racetrack.
Well, and
He,
first of all, you got to have them out there because if you didn't
we
have them
have
out
to have
there, I
them.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have anything. That's like these people talk about, these big Lucas races and stuff where there's a bunch of people there and streaming, and these guys are saying, "Oh, look, dirt track racing's not dead." Well, they're not at Crawford County or
Yeah.
at Flippin or Caney Valley or somewhere. They're at a big
Yeah.
race. That's a big
Yep.
race. That doesn't do anything for these local guys around here. Now, hopefully, somebody sees that and it pops up, and they're like, "Oh man, yeah, I need to go check that out at my local track."
Oh yeah,
But
100%. And I think that's the absolute truth. Um, I just kind of would like for them to get away from the time and ends. And I miss the WRS2 racing. I miss the hard tire racing. Like, it's been a few years, it's been a long time ago. We had a motor we bought from Terry Phillips. It was an old Phillips motor. We got it from Tony Hatfield. He took it up there, and it was a 15-degree motor. That tells you how long ago it's been. So it's been a long time ago. But we were on WRS2s, and on practice Thursday night, we ended up we were like 7th quickest overall all night long, and it was on a hard tire, and we didn't have all the motor. And I mean, I felt amazing, and it was like, this is unbelievable. And it was really, really good because it's like, man, I'm not that great, this is neat. And then Josh Richards came over there to me. He's like, hey man, what are you doing? And what you got going on? Which we knew Josh and them because we were a rocket dealer. So, and it's like, man, honestly, I think it's just because I've got no motor and we've got a terrible tire, and this is really fun racing. And I remember that was like one of the best toplesses ever. McCready killed us
that's
all, I'm
awesome.
pretty sure, but it was the tire was so bad, the racing wasn't just wide open, and you had to finesse. And you put McDowell and you put Billy and Wendell and those guys on a hard tire back then, and Fry. Oh, it was phenomenal racing. Like, I
Yeah, I
loved it.
bet. Yeah, 100% on that one, man. 100% on
Yeah,
that. Travis, I mean, I've had you on here for almost an hour, so that's usually about where I want to stop. So we're gonna have
okay,
a
brother.
part two at some time. But I want you to tell me first of all about that hat because ever since I saw your Crowley's Ridge, I've been wanting that hat. So tell me about that hat.
All right. So this is actually it's a company called Demons Behind Me, and what it is it's like a foundation, and every time you buy from them, whether it's a shirt or a hat or any of that type of stuff, a certain amount of their money goes to whichever foundation you choose, whether it's a cancer therapy research center stuff or multiple sclerosis, or like it's suicide prevention. And I kind of, being a cancer patient, and I've got a family full of cancer patients, I saw it one day and thought, man, that's really, really neat. And so they sell pink hats, purple hats, and everything. Well, I'm a huge pink fan, so that's where I got it from. I got it on the internet and ordered it from them, and I've actually I've got 4 or 5 of them. They're just dirty, and I buy them all the time. And I just hit buy again on there. But I think that anytime you can buy something from somebody and it goes to a good cause, that's what I want to do or try to help them.
Not
But yeah, that's
100%,
where
man.
that
I'm
came
with you.
from.
I've been
Uh,
liking that hat ever since I saw your Crowley's Ridge. I know you had it on there, but yeah, the cancer. Yeah, that's why I try to help out Tony Suttles and that Team Haley Bud for that Fight Like a Kid race that they have over at KMS. That's a pretty important thing for me.
That's a very,
Yeah,
very,
they
very
take that and
important.
give it to that Jimmy Evers Center over in Oklahoma City for childhood cancer research. Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. 100%. Anything you can do to help out stuff like that, that's super important. Super
I
important.
don't, I was fortunate whenever I had cancer that there was certain places like that that did, a little bit of benefit stuff. And even when I was in the hospital, you'd be sitting there and somebody bring you 10 or $15, and it was just an amazing thing because you need it. Your bills pile up, everything goes bad when you have cancer. And
100%.
so I just think it's a neat deal. And that's why I've kind of stuck with it the whole time. Plus it's pink, all tough guys are supposed to have pink, but my mom makes fun of me for it,
Heck
but
yeah.
that's okay.
Real men wear pink. Isn't that the
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've got some pink stuff around here. I sure do. I've actually got my only sponsor of the podcast that I've had is Morgan Towing, and they hooked me up with a pink Morgan Towing T-shirt. I don't wear it on here a lot because I've gained some weight since I started doing this, so I got to slim down a little bit or go up in size. But yeah, I've got one, man. It's awesome. But I have liked that. I wanted you to tell us about that. So if anybody sees this, they can go hook up with one of those and help that out.
I appreciate that very
Now,
much.
your sponsors. You got anybody you want to thank or shout out?
Absolutely. 100%. There's no way, first and foremost, Roger and Renee Mealer, they have, really gone above and beyond what I probably deserve. And I can tell them thank you a million times a day, and I can give them the biggest hugs in the world and tell them how much I love them and appreciate them, but it's not enough. I have 3 race cars. They're not all together all the time, but I have 3 race cars, and we have an old toter and an old trailer, but we have it all. And I couldn't be more thankful for having all that. Um, and so without Roger Miller Motorsports, I couldn't do any of this. Los Plaitas here in town on fine Mexican food place. That guy's great. Arturo, his food's really, really good. And we actually have a barbecue joint. It's kind of conflicting, but it's funny. We have a barbecue place on there, Slayton Barbecue, and those people have helped us tremendously through the year. Eric Hartling, which is my doctor, and when you're in my deal where I'm constantly getting hurt and sticking cars in the wall at the topless, I'm very thankful that I have a
Yeah,
doctor as a sponsor. And then Dr.
100%.
Lad Eye Care. He's always been really, really good to me. And New Vision Graphics, he's been doing my stuff forever, as long as I can remember. And then I would say that Joey Bray with J Bray Fast Freight, which is now Bill Davis Trucking, he's been with me for 15 years and one of the most wonderful humans you'll ever meet in your life. Of course, Bill Davis being a part of racing for so long, and then Joey Bray being a part of racing for so long. One of the greatest honors to me just to have their logo and their name on my car, and known Joey is associated with that. And then Tracy Sweet with Sweet, roofing and manufacturing and different things that he does. He's been with me for a very long time. And all my contingency sponsors for dang sure, like Willie's Carburetors has done more for me than I truly deserve with them guys too. And I can call Willie anytime he picks up the phone, and I'm very thankful for that. And then I would say that one of them I probably don't need to say because he'd probably get mad, but I'm very much thankful to have him and everything that he's done for me over the years. And I'll give you a hint. His door's hanging on your wall back there, but like he's very, very good to me, and I can't say thank you enough for any of that. And I'm sure there's people that I'm forgetting because I'm terrible at naming stuff like that. But those are the people that I can think of. And Rock Hard Powder Coating, he's always done stuff for me. Tadpole and Rock Hard Powder Coating has been there forever. He does our powder coating at the shop for Shaw's, and he's always taken really, really good care of me. Dominator, I forgot Dominator, and I apologize for that. But Dominators, they've done a lot for me in the last year or so, and I got to thank Rusty Schlink for that. He kind of got me hooked up with them. Landrum Springs, everybody's got, this is the greatest spring, that's the greatest spring. But
Yeah.
Greg and them with Landrum Spring, he's another one that it don't matter where I'm at or what part of it could be 4:00 in the morning. And I'm like, I gotta have spring, and I try not to do that, but he's like, no problem, Trav, I'll send them to you. And Robertson and Son Sheet Metal, they help me quite a bit as well. And we get a pretty good little deal from them sometimes. But I would say those are the main ones. And then I got to thank all my crew people and definitely my girlfriend. Like, she puts up with more crap. And I know all racing girlfriends and wives put up with it, but the holler cleaner, the cooker for all the people that are around there, the slap me around when I need it and keep me in control of everything that needed to be done, and I appreciate her for that. And then Casey Bailey, Colton Bailey, those guys have been with me forever. Kyle Cherry and Shane, he helps out, and all my family when they show up to help out. Caleb Blakely, he's the one that I call my son. It's not my son, but to me, he is my son. And when he's at the racetrack, it's like one of the greatest feelings in the whole wide world. So I would say those people are some of the main people that I would like to take the time to say thank you. And if I forgot, I'm sorry. Like I'm getting old. My brain doesn't think as much as it used
No,
to,
I
and I'm not
understand
very.
you. I understand 100% on that one, brother. I do.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm going to give a shout out to Ginger Fowler because I've been wanting to get you on here, but she's been bugging me about getting you on here forever. And I know you run with Chris
Oh
Wilhot,
yeah,
them.
Chris is. I love him to death.
Yeah. And she's been
Gentry
bugging
is.
me.
She
You got to
is.
get Travis on there. You got to get Travis on there. I'm
I
working on it.
That kid, I love her to death. Now you want to talk
Yeah.
about somebody that gives me a hard time. Like my phone will go off and it'll be her, and she's like, "What are you doing, Grandpa?" Like,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, she's definitely one of my favorites, man. I like her, and I hope things go well for her. But yeah, I just want to
I
give
do
her a
too.
shout out here. She'll be super excited about that. So, and one of those names you mentioned that sponsor list, I just gotta say, I've got a buddy that I went to high school with that worked for Joe for Joey Bray for years out of Cersei.
Really?
Yep, sure do. I'm not gonna name him on here, but yeah, Joe for Joey for years. I've heard that name for 25 years now, probably. So
I also want to thank KR Motorsports and Promotions. I know I forgot. I got a picture of there. I had to look on the picture. And I wanted to thank, we actually grew up together in Texas, and now he does a lot of things for different racing and stuff. And I wanted to thank him very much too. Yeah, it's kind of cool. The racing family is tight knit and against each other. It's a love hate relationship with everybody in racing, but you can't do it without each
oh
other.
yeah,
So
100%, 100%. Travis, man, I'm super glad to have got you on here finally. I know we didn't get as technical as I wanted to. Usually, first time I get somebody on here, it's kind of just to get to know you and get your story thing. So I definitely want to, go for a deeper dive here at some point on some of this stuff and talk about it. But I do appreciate you coming on here a lot. And for people, I know April's not looking real good for racing. I looked at the forecast this afternoon.
no,
Anywhere in our area, it's not looking, and I mean our area, I'm talking about like the whole middle of the country. It's not looking very good
yeah,
for
from
racing
Oklahoma all the
in
way to
April.
over here. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you can race, can you have any idea where you're going to be if people want to come watch it?
Yeah, well, actually, Riverside is having a race this weekend. It's kind of their opener, and it's going to be sprint cars and late models and multiple other classes. But that's where we plan on going. We actually, you were talking about how somebody was on your cast or how they got on your podcast. It's funny you say that. So my girlfriend made a recording. We actually tested in Riverside last weekend, and there wasn't very many people that even knew we went over there. And so she took a video of me making laps. We get home and she was like, "Who did you send that video to?" And I said, I didn't send that video to anybody." I said, "Thornton." I was talking to Ricky, but I said, outside of that, somehow they have AI'd that and it's all over TikTok." And I'm like, "I don't even know how they would do that." And
No
she was,
joke. That's awesome, man.
I'm not, yeah. And they've added music to the background. They've done all this stuff, and it's her video that somebody has taken. I'm like, I didn't even send that to anybody. I don't know how they do all that, but they can do
That's
anything
awesome.
they want to anymore.
Oh yeah, 100% on that one, man. I listen, these kids going around, these media people going around making these TikToks and reels and stuff of these, I don't know how they do it. They got the big telescopic lenses, they do all this stuff and they make some cool videos and I can't keep up. I'm too old. So
No,
I talk
me
I
either.
talk to I talk to folks. That's what I do.
Yeah. I had to get her over here to show me how to turn the dang phone on, so I get
I
it.
hear you, man. I hear you. I'm with you. But Travis, no joke. Thanks for coming on here. I really appreciate it. And
I appreciate
and
you, brother.
hopefully I get to see you race here again soon in person.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, brother.